Elias Wren wasn't supposed to be on the diplomatic cruiser Valoria. He was a mechanic, a grease-stained tinkerer from Mars Station 9, more comfortable with broken thrusters than with delicate political exchanges. But when the ship carrying the official engineering team malfunctioned at Titan's dockyards, the Union needed someone who knew how to fix a warping engine. Elias had been the unlucky volunteer, which was how he found himself surrounded by towering silver-eyed alien dignitaries of the Lurti Dominion, their robes whispering across polished deck plates, while he tried not to stare too hard at the woman walking ahead of him. Her name was Kilira Vey, First Blade of the Lurti Guard. She was 7 feet tall, graceful in a way that reminded Elias of a hunting cat, if cats wore shimmering armor that glowed faintly with biocrystals. Her voice was smooth steel, her stride unflinching, her presence impossible to ignore. And because Elias was a man cursed by his own brain, he had noticed something else. Damn, she's got one hell of a... The thought wasn't meant to escape. But the problem with the Lurti was that their advanced translator helms didn't just render words across languages. They sometimes misfired, picking up stray mental projections if the human brain spoke too loudly. So when Elias tripped over a deck panel and muttered under his breath, his helmet's translator decided to announce it, loud and clear, into the chamber. Your butt is, magnificent. The silence that followed could have frozen a star. Kilira stopped walking. Slowly she turned, her silver gaze locking onto him. Her guard contingent shifted, hands hovering near the crystalline hilts of their weapons. The Union diplomats choked in horror. Elias wished the floor would open up and eject him into vacuum. Then Kilira's lips curved, just slightly. Repeat that, she commanded. Elias's face went crimson. I didn't mean, it was a translator glitch, I wasn't, But Kilira stepped closer, towering over him, the light from her armor casting long shadows. Among my people, humans, compliments about one's hindquarters are not an insult. They are a challenge. Oh, what now? Elias croaked. A test of strength, she said, her voice low. You claim my form pleases you. Then you claim you could keep pace with me. Few dare. Fewer survive. The beginning of trouble. The diplomatic crew tried desperately to smooth things over. But Kilira was insistent. She demanded Elias accompany her for the duration of the voyage as her honor companion. Officially, this was to demonstrate cultural exchange. Unofficially, Elias was fairly sure she was waiting for him to collapse so she could laugh over his broken body. His protests meant nothing. The Union didn't want to risk offending the Lurti. Their alliance was too valuable. So Elias was shoved into the role, forced to follow Kilira during training drills, combat simulations, and even formal banquets. And that was where the strangeness began. Kilira was merciless in the gymnasium. Her species were stronger, faster, born from high-gravity worlds where muscle was survival. Yet whenever Elias fell behind, she'd snap at him, not with disdain but with fire. On your feet, human. You dare speak boldly. Then prove you are more than fragile bone and soft flesh. Elias would grit his teeth, stumble back up, and push harder than he thought possible. To his own shock, he began lasting longer each session. Kilira would nod approvingly, her lips twitching at the corners. At banquets, where diplomats danced with words like daggers, Kilira would drag Elias to sit beside her. He speaks with unfiltered honesty, she explained to other nobles. No guile, no slithering tongue. It is refreshing. Elias tried not to choke on alien delicacies that looked like glowing slugs. And when she laughed, an unexpectedly warm melodic sound, it always seemed to follow after Elias said something foolish. He began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, she didn't hate him after all. The middle a beast unleashed. The Valoria's mission was to broker peace between the Union and the Lurti, who had long been at odds with the Cruel, a brutal insectoid species that devoured entire colonies. The talks were tense but promising. Then everything shattered. The Valoria was ambushed in the Rigel sector. Cruel warships descended like a storm, their weapons spitting violet plasma. The cruiser shuddered under impact. Decks tore open. Alarms screamed. Elias was thrown against a bulkhead as the ship buckled. Dazed, he staggered to his feet, only to hear a roar unlike anything human throats could produce. A cruel boarding beast, 8 limbs, mandibles dripping acid, tore through the inner corridor. It was a creature bred solely for slaughter. Diplomats screamed and scattered. Guards fired, but their weapons only slowed it. Kilira stood between the monster and the retreating civilians, her blade humming with energy. She moved with lethal grace, but the beast was relentless. It smashed her against a wall, its claws raking her armor. She snarled and struck back, yet even she seemed pressed to her limit. Elias's instincts screamed at him to run. But instead, he grabbed a fallen guard's plasma lance. His hands shook. He wasn't a soldier, wasn't a warrior. But he couldn't just let her die. He charged. The lance drove into the beast's side, sizzling flesh. The creature shrieked and spun, hurling Elias like a ragdoll. Pain exploded through his ribs. But his strike had given Kilira an opening. With a roar, she drove her blade through its throat. The beast convulsed and fell, acid burning through the deck. Elias lay gasping, his vision blurred. He expected Kilira to berate him for interfering. Instead, she knelt beside him, her armored hand surprisingly gentle as it pressed against his chest. "You fought," she said softly. "You bled. Not many of your kind would. You please me." Elias, still half-conscious, groaned. "That's good to know." Bonds forged in fire. The attack crippled the Valoria. With engines damaged and comms severed, the survivors huddled together, waiting for rescue. Elias found himself working non-stop, patching power conduits, welding hull fractures, even stabilizing life support units. He wasn't a soldier, but he could fix things, and that mattered now more than ever. Kilira stayed close. Not in the suffocating way of a jailer, but like a shadow, protective and watchful. She sparred with him when stress threatened to break him, forcing him to fight until sweat cleared his fear. She shared Lurti tales of warriors who laughed in the face of despair. She even taught him phrases in her language, though he often mangled them to her amusement. One night, while repairing a shattered viewport, Elias caught himself staring again. The way her armor caught starlight, the lines of her body. He cursed his treacherous brain. But Kilira only tilted her head. "You are doing it again." "What?" he stammered. "Admiring." She said the word as if it were both accusation and invitation. Then she leaned closer, silver eyes gleaming. "Do not fear. Among my people, such honesty is the foundation of bond." Elias swallowed. "And if I said I meant it, every word." Her smile was sharp, dangerous, yet strangely tender. "Then, human, perhaps you are braver than I believed." The ending beyond belief rescue came at last. A Union fleet drove off the remaining Cruel and retrieved the battered Valoria. Diplomats praised Kilira's valor, but the story that spread like wildfire was different. A human mechanic who dared challenge the First Blade with a single reckless compliment, and who stood at her side when monsters came. When the official signing ceremony resumed weeks later, Kilira shocked everyone. She stood before both delegations and declared, I claim Elias Wren as my chosen. He spoke with unfiltered courage, fought with reckless heart, and proved himself worthy. Among the Lurti, such words are not jest. They are vows. The chamber erupted in disbelief. Union officers sputtered. Diplomats fainted. Elias nearly did too. But Kilira simply turned to him, her gaze unwavering. Well, human, do you dare stand beside me still? Every rational part of Elias wanted to run. He was just a mechanic for Star's sake. But when he looked at her, at the fierce warrior who had laughed with him, bled with him, believed in him, he felt something deeper than fear. He straightened, wincing at his still healing ribs, and managed a grin. Guess I've already proven I can keep up. So yeah, I'll stand with you. Her response was beyond anything he imagined. She stepped forward, pressed her forehead to his, a lurty gesture of binding, and whispered so only he could hear. Then from this day, Elias Wren, your life and mine are one. You spoke of my form, but it is your heart that binds me. The chamber fell silent as the declaration echoed across translators. The galaxy had just witnessed not only a peace treaty but the forging of an impossible bond between species. And Elias, the grease-stained mechanic who couldn't keep his mouth shut, realized that one foolish slip had changed the fate of two civilizations.